Alright, so after a bit of a theory, let's see how it works in code. And let's start with the country class. So we decided to have 4 get calls. One that gets all the countries, one that gets a specific country based on the ID, and one that returns a country of an author whose ID will be used as argument for the call. And finally, we want a call that retrieves all authors from a country, so we will pass the country ID into the call. So let's create an interface that will have method signatures for all 4 calls. And we can place it into a services folder. Because it is an interface, I will precede the name with capital letter I to indicate that it is indeed an interface. Now it is not necessary, you can name it what you want, but this is a convention. And since the interface will contain the method signatures, it is basically a repository method, so I'm going to call it iCountryRepository. So I right-click Services, add, and I'll add a class and name it iCountryRepository. So we created a class, but we want it to be an interface, so let's replace the word class with interface. So what is needed in order to return the collection of all countries? Well, since we are returning a collection of countries and not a single country, the return type can be iCollection of country type. So our first method will be iCollection of country, and I'll call it getCountries. And we need to import the namespace from the project.models. So this is our first method. Now there is no argument needed because we will simply let the DB context select all the countries. The second method is to return single country. So the return type will be an object country, and since we are returning a single country, I'll call the method getCountry. So we return a country, and I'll call it getCountry. However, here we need to pass the ID of a country that we want to actually retrieve. So we'll pass an integer, and I'll call it country ID. The third method is to get a specific country for an author. So we will pass the author ID in it and return a country that belongs to that author. And I'll call this method getCountry of an author. So we return country, and I'll call it getCountry of an author. And we need to pass the actual author ID in it. So I'll pass an integer called author ID. And finally, we want to retrieve all authors from a specific country. So we are again returning a collection, but this time we are returning collection of authors. So iCollection of type authors or author, and I'll call this method getAuthors from a country. And here we need to pass the ID of the country from which we want the authors from. And that's it. Well, at least for now. Our interface is finished for now. Now let's implement the methods.